Men, and I use the term loosely again. I'm going to call this day 2 of this project. The bike got here actually, I think, in late April, and it's pretty near the end of June right now. I had a tremendous amount of work to do on this thing. And, I told the owner, I says, there's really no point doing all of this other work until I'm sure the engine is going to run good and start reliably. Well, just due to the way things worked out, it ended up taking from April until just a couple of days ago to get the motor running. To paraphrase Steppenwolf, I guess. But anyway, if the engine needed a total rebuild, that would change the whole direction of the process. But anyway, motor's running good, starts easy, no knocks, no bangs, good compression. So once I knew I had a good engine, I called the owner. I says, okay, I got a good running motor. It starts easy. I think you're going to like it. I'll truck on with the rest of this. So yesterday, after I made the intro video, I took a bunch of shit apart. And let's just look at the findings real quick on that. Okay, the exhaust bracket on the bottom of the frame here was cracked and welded. I'm going to leave it alone. Chain guard was cracked and welded over here. I'm going to leave it alone. If I was doing a full restoration, I might be inclined to grind this all out, blend it in, and make it smooth so you couldn't tell it was welded, but I'm not doing a restoration. The owner didn't want me to do a restoration. He just wanted me to make sure it was roadworthy for his son. Brakes actually look pretty good. I've cleaned up some of this stuff. I got more cleaning to do today, but, covered with grease and oil. And see the shiny spot? Something was rubbing. We're going to look at that in a minute. You might be able to make out this shiny ring around here, but here is the something that was rubbing. When I get ready to put it back together again, I'm going to have to look at that. And just to FYI, I might try to pry this tire off of the rim today. Might try to do that if I feel up to it. Tires are rough on an old man. Swing arm bearings, of course, they were trashed. The other one is still in a swing arm, but I'm sure it looks just like this one. Something is 58 years old and you never take it apart and you never grease it. That's what happens to it. So those are going to get replaced. Nothing surprising there. The swing arm, of course, with the shocks disconnected, I could barely move it. I mean, this was crunching and grinding really bad. And before I delve full on into today's activities, I'm going to let you take a look at this Tillotson carb. And, this thing gave me fits. It looks good. It looks like it should work. And every once in a while, it would start the bike and the bike would run fine. But on a continuing basis, it doesn't work worth this shit. Anyway, let's take the bottom off of this thing and I'll show you guys what this is. This is what is known as a diaphragm type carburetor. There is no float bowl. For all intents and purposes, the gas tank is the float bowl. Fuel goes in here and there's a needle underneath there that is displaced by the diaphragm. Fuel goes in here and it comes out here. This is the vent. When the gas is hooked up and on, the fuel level in this hose will rise to whatever the level is inside the gas tank. It goes to a standby inside the gas tank. Anyway, that's the way it is. This thing on the bottom is, I believe this is an aftermarket thing. This is a tickler. and it physically, when you push this button, raises the diaphragm to allow gas to dribble into the carb. And I'm no expert on these things. I haven't encountered one that runs correctly since the 70s. A buddy of mine had one on his bike, and it leaked, and of course it dribbles on the magneto, and you know, the magneto makes sparks, and it caught the bike on fire. We got to put out before too much damage is done. Of course, this is plastic or nylon, and it melts. The Harley manual says to start the bike, close the choke all the way, and crack the throttle, and that will create a low pressure in the carburetor while you're kicking, and that will draw and force gas in. But anyway, there's not a lot in here. A Bendix type accelerator pump and this diaphragm. You know, I just don't get it. You know, here's that float valve I was talking about, and it takes vacuum acting on the top side of this diaphragm to lift it up and open this metering valve. And then of course there's ports and jets in there that, you know, control your fuel flow. I don't know, looks okay, looks clean, blew it all out. Doesn't work with this shit. Couldn't tell you why it doesn't work with the shit. You know, I don't like selling guys parts they don't need, or parts, especially expensive parts like carburetors. But you know, I'll take a Bendix every day over this thing. But anyway, anybody who knows anything about Tillotsons, who wants to venture a guess as to what was wrong with it or what might be wrong with it, let me know. I may play with it a little bit more. I really don't want to though, but I might. And just FYI, I could walk out to this thing when it was cold, close the choke, crack the throttle, and generally speaking, the first sort of day, it'd start right up, no problem. And it would actually run and it would drive fine. For the life of me, I could not get it to start 2 times in a row. It'd cough, it'd fart, it'd run for a second, it'd just and then die out. It would do that. But anyway, Tillotson carb, in case you're interested, low speed adjustment, high speed adjustment, accelerator pump. The choke is kind of neat. It's spring loaded on the top, so when you get the engine running, the vacuum will open this so as to keep from completely killing the engine due to rich mixture. It doesn't like running with this being sucked open, but it will. You know, doesn't look like it gets much simpler than that, but yet it doesn't work. Anyway, got any comments or suggestions? What might be wrong with this? Let me know. And I'm going to work on the rest of the bike, and frankly I'm probably not going to video much, if any of it. I'm cleaning parts. I might take the front end apart today. I might take that tire off. We'll see how it goes. I got yeah, you know, this guy is a paying customer, and I do want to get this thing done, and I'm trying to get all the parts ordered at one time. So I'm taking the wheels apart to check the bearings, the swing arm bearings. I got to pull the front end off so I could check the cup and the balls, the cups and the balls. No comment about checking the balls. The balls are, well, we'll check the balls later on in private. But anyway, I'm going to go work on a bike, and I'll bring you back if anything interesting crops up. See ya. Bye. All right, I wasn't going to replace the brake shoes, but the heads are not particularly well formed. This one, the head is mostly missing, and the pad is ever so slightly loose on the shoe. So he's getting new brakes. I tried knocking the rivets out, and I managed to break the pad. I was just going to try re-riveting them, but that's not going to work. And just FYI, you could buy the pads at V-Twin. Every set of pads I've bought, the holes don't line up with the holes in the shoe. So I just buy the whole shoes. It's not terribly much more money. And, you know, this is a customer's bike, and it's actually probably cheaper. By the time I unrivet and re-rivet the pads, he's going to be into it more than he would be just buying, you know, the complete thing. So anyway, new brake shoes are coming. Okay, here's the rear sprocket I took off yesterday. Notice the hook shape of these teeth. When your sprocket gets that hook shape in it, plus they're worn down to little skinny nubbies, it needs to be replaced. This is going in the trash and he's getting a new sprocket. When your sprocket gets like that, if you don't change it, you'll fuck up your chain. Going to remove the other bearing and race from the swing arm. And yeah, I know it's a pain in the ass, but the big nut has been staked in there pretty severely, and it really makes it a lot easier if you drill down into the punch marks. Oh, nice. Comes right out. And that's what you want. If you don't, you know, you could force it past there, but as it turns past the dimples, it will fuck up the threads on the nut. So you're not doing yourself a favor. I mean, you're saving, well, you're not probably even saving any time because it takes so much longer to force these things out. Anyway, drill the punch marks out. Makes it much easier to remove. This is the bore for the swing arm pivot or swing arm axle. It was really a bitch getting that out of there, so there's rust and things inside there, so we're going to hit it with the dingle ball hone to smooth it up and clean it out. Got a piece of rag on the end of a poking stick. And let's test fit the axle. You know, I'm not the kind of guy who bags stuff, but I'm going to try to put this bike back together again as original. So I'm trying to get the nuts and bolts actually back into the same holes they came out of. So yeah, I've been bagging these pieces so I could keep them all together. Ooh, nice. Huh. Yeah, much easier than when I took it apart. That's for sure. All right, that's good to go. You know, a project like this, there's, you know, I don't know, 3,000 individual little steps that have to be taken. This cleaned, that cleaned, this honed out, you know, greased, adjusted. You know, there's a lot of operations that need to occur to get this back in you know, a good roadworthy condition. A couple of years ago, I did a video of me unmounting a tire. Typically, I don't mount tires. Typically, I don't unmount them, but I want to get this tire off of this wheel so I could check the inside of the rim and clean up any corrosion that's in there. So the guy who does my tires is the next town over, so I'd have to drive down there, get him to unmount it, drive it back home, clean it up, do whatever needs to be doing, then drive it back up there for him to mount it. So I want to try to get it unmounted myself here to save a trip. The valve stem is out. This thing is rock hard, baby. And we'll see how I make out on this. I'm sure it's going to be a pain in the gonads. Got my handy dandy bead separator here. This thing's kind of a pain in the balls. Kind of a pain in the balls ain't the word for it. So anyway, like I said, I think I did a video. I know I did a video on unmounting tires. Geez, 2 or 3 years ago. And if you saw it then, great. If not, here's your chance to see the same operation again, performed by an older guy. A guy who's had 2 shoulders replaced. Back when I was a very young man, I used to work in a motorcycle shop, and Saturday, and I may have told this story before, but I'm telling it again. Saturday was tire changing day for some reason, and we kept a mechanic on duty whose only job it was to change tires. And we didn't have one of those fancy machines that, you know, pushes the bead off of the rim and then reaches down and grabs the tire and pulls it up and over. We did it all by hand with tire irons, much as I'm going to do today. And it was a pain in the ass. I got paid $8 for a Harley tire and $6 or $7 for an import bike tire. And you worked your ass off. A guy who was good can maybe do 8 in a day. And believe me, after wrestling tires for a full day, you were beat. It was like wrestling an octopus, I swear to God, you know, because the tire irons want to pop out and you're trying to grab them and you're crawling all over the wheel and the rim, and it just is not a fun experience. Wore me out. But anyway, we'll see how this old man does with his 2 replaced shoulders. See if I can still do it. Was rounding up my tire irons and my rim protectors. As a matter of fact, these are the tire irons I used 40 years ago. Jesus. I've graduated to the big ones now. Well, it's coming off of the rim easy enough. Okay, it's off of the rim, so I probably get this gadget out of the way. Yeah, this is probably a taper bead rim. As a matter of fact, I'm sure it's a taper bead rim. So yeah, they taper bead rims, the tire comes off easier. And that's why these are not the preferred rims for safety reasons. Is because just like it came off pretty easy for me over here, when you're going down the road at 60 miles an hour and that inner tube pops a hole in it, the tire is going to easily come off the rim and probably hurt you. If you can't wrestle it down without crashing a bike. And the good part, at least about getting this off, is I really don't care if I screw the tube or the tire up because they're going to the garbage. Let's see. Let's get the valve stem side out first. Of course, the idea is you want to push the bead down into the drop center if it's at all possible. Yeah, I just don't have strength in my left arm anymore. And there's a spot right here right in this area where it's coming off that I should be able to find a gap. To get the tire iron in. This old rubber gets to be as hard as a rock. If I had another couple of arms, it'd be easier. Trying to make sure the bead is down in the drop center. Yeah, it pretty much is, yep. All right, let's try something. Here we go. These rims with the rounded hump in the middle are not deep drop rims, so they're a little harder to get the tires off and on of because they don't have the extra real estate into which you could drop the bead. You know, I could see it. I could see the edge of the bead right in here. I just can't get under it to get it lifted over. All right, sweating profusely. I got air conditioning out here, but still. Way too much work for an old man. There we go. That's what I like to see. Getting there. Broke the rim protector. Ooh, now we got it. Halfway done. Come on, baby. Oh, yeah. Think I got it. That was rough. Old man wins again. I got to do another one of these videos in another 2 or 3 years and see if I could still do it. All right, getting ready to wrap up today. It's been a long day out here. It might not look like it in as much as everything is taken apart and nothing is put together, but all these parts are cleaned up and ready to go back on. The wheel hub, there was about 5 pounds of old grease in there. The bearings are cleaned out, re-greased, ready to go. Brake drum is cleaned up. All the parts in this pink bin, the brake backing plate, the sprocket cover, all the odds and ends are cleaned up, ready to go. So is the chain. Got new rubber donuts put in the bottom of the shocks. Swing arm is cleaned up and ready to go when I get new bearings. The bore for the swing arm pivot is honed out and ready to go. So a lot was done here, although nothing is back together again. A lot was done. It was a long day. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with, the last thing I did today, I lopped off a hunk of old handlebar and bored it out a little bit on the inside so that it would fit over the old handlebar where the internal throttle used to reside. The new carb, the Bendix, is going to have a throttle that pulls, not like the old style that pushes. So I've got to weld the sleeve on there to accommodate the 1-inch throttle grip. I'm going to keep the heat zone small, so you probably won't even be able to see that this was welded on there. And I've done this before. I'm sure it'll work fine. If a guy wanted to, go full-blown restoration and put the tillotson back on there, God only knows why you want to do that. But if you wanted to, you could just cut the weld that's going to be right around here and, take this off, clean it up a little bit, and put the old push throttle back on there, as much as those suck. Anyway, with that, I am out of here. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. Bye, and thanks for watching. Just a quick reminder, you can help support and grow this channel, first of all and most importantly, by hitting that subscribe button. So if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to do a little more, join me on Patreon. Links down below. So go ahead and join me on Patreon if you feel so inclined. And finally, coffee cups, stickers, and gas tank covers are available. This is a new design coffee cup. I like the old ones, but I like these new ones even better. Links will be provided in the description down below. Get yourself some. And thank you all ever so much for watching these videos. I really appreciate it. Bye.